Every game begins the same way.
Wait, the Orioles were in the race for Luis Robert Jr. Yes, they were. And there's a specific reason why they stayed out of that deal. And that reason says a lot about how Mike Elias is thinking about this team. If you've been following this team since the rebuild, you know that every move this franchise makes has logic behind it. Sometimes it's not obvious. Sometimes it takes a full season to make sense. But there's always a logic. I'm Ethan Miller, and this channel exists for exactly that, for us to sit down together and understand what's really happening with Baltimore. Because look, losing Robert Jr. to the Mets stings a little, I won't lie. But when you see why Baltimore stepped away from the deal and what Taylor Ward is already doing this season, and what could still happen before the trade deadline, the Orioles' center field story in 2026 is far from over. According to John Heyman of the New York Post, the Orioles were one of the teams that showed real interest in trading for Luis Robert Jr. during this offseason. Baltimore was at the table alongside the Yankees and the Cincinnati Reds, all monitoring the Chicago White Sox center fielder before the Mets closed the deal. The trade that sent Robert Jr. to New York involved Luisangel Acuna and Truman Hawley going to Chicago. These weren't second-tier prospects. It was a high price. And even so, the Orioles were on the radar in those talks. What held Baltimore back, according to the reports, was the salary. The Orioles indicated they would need some salary relief from the White Sox to finalize the deal. Chicago declined, and with that, negotiations didn't move to the next level. This isn't a sign of weakness from the franchise, it's management. It's exactly the kind of decision that separates a well-executed rebuild from one that falls apart due to impulsiveness. Elias showed that he's interested in upgrading center field, but not at any cost. To understand why this matters, it's worth remembering where the team was at the end of 2025. The Orioles' outfield had clear holes, especially in left field and center field. The left field position was addressed cleanly. The trade for Taylor Ward, formerly of the Angels, is already paying off. Ward is hitting .320 appearances this season. A clean, well-executed move. But center field is still a question mark. Colton Cowser is there, and the team believes in him. The problem is that 2025 was tough for Cowser, a .196 average, a .654 OPS in 92 games. That's not what anyone expected from a player with his level of talent. Orioles fans, if you follow this team every single day, go ahead and hit the like button on the video. If you've been an Orioles fan for a while, you know what it's like to support a team that went years without bringing joy. You followed the rebuild, you saw the young players arrive, and now you're watching this team try to take the next step. And it's natural to feel that urge. Just go get a big name, Mike. But think about it. Did you really want to see the Orioles give up prospects at the level of Luisangel Acuna to bring in a player who has struggled with consistency since 2023? What makes more sense for where this team is headed? Robert Jr. has elite talent. In 2023, he showed exactly what he's capable of. But since then, he's been playing on a team in total collapse, which makes it hard to separate the player from the context. The Mets are betting he rebounds in a new environment. Maybe he will, but maybe he won't. The Orioles evaluated the risk, evaluated the cost, both financial and in prospects, and decided the price wasn't worth it. With Cowser still young enough to develop, and with the possibility of adding reinforcements at the trade deadline, if the season goes well, the decision makes sense. In my view, this confirms something I've believed for a while. The Orioles are playing chess while other teams are playing checkers. Mike Elias isn't going to panic over a name. He's going to wait for the right moment, the right price, the right need. This team is still evolving. And one of the trademarks of a well-executed rebuild is knowing when to say no while everyone else is saying yes. In the short term, Cowser will open 2026 as the starting center fielder. That puts pressure on him, and that might be exactly what he needs. Young players sometimes need to feel like the job is truly theirs to show what they can do. If the team is in the playoff race in July, Elias will go get reinforcements. That's the logic of the process. Player development is the guiding thread behind everything Baltimore does, and that doesn't change. At the end of the day, the Orioles got close to Luis Robert Jr., evaluated the situation seriously, and chose not to force it. It's a story that reveals a lot about the identity of this franchise: patient, analytical, and committed to the long term. The future of the Orioles is promising, and this kind of decision is part of the reason why. The question is, will Cowser step up in 2026, or will the Orioles need to go after a center fielder before the trade deadline? Let me know in the comments what you think.